Everyone believes Mahito's story is over. His defeat felt final, his presence erased, his name reduced to memory. But what if that ending was only the surface of something much larger? What if Mahito never truly left, only changed the way he moves through the world? The final arc of Jujutsu Kaisen is filled with strange absences, unresolved threads, and characters acting for reasons the story has not yet fully explained. And at the center of all of it, like a shadow that refuses to disappear, stands the question, where is Mahito now? The answer may not lie in a single scene, but in a chain of events stretching across Yuji, Yuri, Yuka, Tsurugi, Cross, and beyond. A forbidden technique, broken vows, souls that refuse to stay silent, and a promise that binds a boy's life to a curse's return. This is not just speculation, it is a pattern. And once that pattern becomes visible, one conclusion becomes impossible to ignore. Mahito's role in this story is far from finished. Oh yeah, so we can keep interacting and making the anime storytelling world even more fun together. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and drop your thoughts in the comments to keep the vibe going. Alright guys, let's jump straight into the discussion. Let's go. Some of the wildest theories about Mahito's final role in the last arc of Jujutsu Kaisen are starting to surface. One of the darkest claims that Yuri, the child of Mahito and Yuta, once made a forbidden binding vow, granting the 10 Shadows technique to Yuka while simultaneously passing on the cancer that slowly destroyed her body. And that is only the beginning of the madness. Other speculations range from Mahito's hidden connection to Yuji, his long-term plans involving Tsurugi, the possibility of his fusion with Cross, and even how he might manipulate Dara in the story's endgame. Believe it or not, at least one of these theories is almost guaranteed to come true in JJK Modulo. So let's get straight to the core of the discussion. The first step is to review everything the story has already shown us about Mahito. From there, each theory will be dissected one by one, involving Yuji, Cross, Maru, Tsurugi, Yuka, and IORI OKKOTSU, all tied together by a single thread, Mahito. A crucial moment occurs when Tsurugi lies unconscious. Mahito appears and says, "What is all this? I thought you were him." That single line makes something very clear. Tsurugi is not the person Mahito has been waiting for. He is not the one Mahito was searching for. This leads to a critical realization. Mahito is waiting for someone. At first, many assumed that person was Yuji, since Yuji was once believed to age and die like a normal human. But after it was revealed that Yuji is immune to aging, that theory collapsed. So if it is not Yuji, then who is Mahito truly waiting for? The trail points toward Tsurugi, but only indirectly. And this is where IORI OKKOTSU begins to matter. The first major theory comes from an observer named DarkFF1610, who suggests something unsettling. Mahito may have once made a pact with IORI, promising that their next child would be born with the 10 Shadows technique. But Mahito's current condition remains a mystery. Is this the same Mahito as before, a reincarnation, or a remaining fragment of his soul wandering between life and death? Much like the presence that once spoke with Sukuna in the afterlife, that question deepens further. Can a being in that state still use idle transfiguration? There is no clear answer. But one thing is undeniable. Mahito is still capable of communication, and his appearance is not random. He was shown deliberately, and he addressed Tsurugi directly. It is very possible that Mahito initially believed Tsurugi was Yuri. That assumption makes sense if their souls are linked as father and child. A similar phenomenon occurred with Yuji, whose grandfather was the reincarnation of Sukuna's twin from the Heian era, passing fragments of that soul down to Yuji. If such inheritance is possible, then a spiritual connection between Yuri and Tsurugi becomes highly plausible. Now, if Mahito was truly searching for Yuri, what was his goal? The answer may be hidden in Chapter 17. There we are introduced to ISU, an individual with an extreme obsession over Jujutsu sorcerer power, an obsession so intense that it destroyed him from the inside. Earlier analysis established that this madness toward power directly connects to the birth of Yuka as the bearer of the Ten Shadows technique, and is precisely why ISU was ultimately cast out. After realizing that Tsurugi was born without any technique at all, ISU likely decided to have another child. This time, he did not want to leave anything to chance, so he may have accepted Mahito's offer. Souls can be altered, techniques can be transferred. Imagine this scenario. While Yuka was still an embryo, Mahito interfered with her soul, or perhaps reshaped IORI's soul beforehand, ensuring that the child would be born carrying the Ten Shadows technique. A forbidden technique, one that would later mark Yuka as cursed from birth. Through this lens, the prohibition surrounding the technique is no longer just about clan politics between Gojo and Zenin, nor merely the danger of Maharaga. There is something far more calculated and sinister behind it. And at the center of it all stands Mahito. Outlawing the entire Ten Shadows technique always sounded excessive and, honestly, hard to justify, especially when Yuta and Maki were leading the clan at the time, with Yuji still active around them. A decision of that scale could not have been made without an extremely serious reason. But the picture changes completely if they were aware that Mahito had been directly involved in how Yuka obtained the Ten Shadows technique. If that is true, then the ban was never about inter-clan politics at all. It was fear of something far more dangerous. This theory once again circles back to Dark's interpretation, and it becomes even stronger when examining the latest Viz translation. The wording strongly suggests that ISU's mission only truly ended after both Tsurugi and Yuka were born, or more precisely, after Yuka manifested the Ten Shadows technique. After that, ISU simply vanished, at least according to Tsurugi. Whether that version of events is entirely true remains uncertain. Personally, the idea that ISU was exiled because his ideology became too extreme still feels more convincing. But if Mahito's involvement is real, then ISU's presence inside Tsurugi's mind becomes far easier to explain through his connection to IORI OKKOTSU. And at the same time, the prohibition placed on Yuka's Ten Shadows finally gains a much clearer motive. Even Yuka's brain cancer could be tied to the violation of a binding vow. If some agreement between IORI and Mahito truly existed, that illness may well be its consequence. Yuka is only 16 and already suffering from cancer, something that can happen in reality, of course, but within the context of this story, it feels disturbingly unnatural. It is even possible that if such a pact were ever erased or fulfilled, the disease would disappear with it. Now let's turn our attention to Yuka herself. It is entirely possible that every theory so far is wrong, and that Mahito is simply lying in wait, searching for the right moment to strike a new deal. If so, the most logical target right now is Yuka, suspended in the gray zone between life and death. Her body remains in suspended animation. She dies if Devara wins. She also dies if Maharaga wins. Her only chance of survival is if the ritual is cancelled, either through Yuji's intervention or if DRA leaves the planet, particularly if Yuji manages to defeat Maharaga. Under such conditions, an encounter between Yuka and Mahito becomes very plausible. Even if the odds of Yuka accepting Mahito's offer are slim, the right temptation can weaken anyone. A confrontation between them feels almost inevitable. Next comes Tsurugi, and of all characters, he is by far the most vulnerable to Mahito's influence. Tsurugi would do anything to save his sister. His own life means nothing to him if it buys Yuka even one more day. If Mahito were to offer Yuka eternal life and the complete removal of her cancer, Tsurugi would almost certainly accept, no matter the price. Reviving Mahito, surrendering his soul, or allowing possession would all be on the table. This scenario becomes even more believable when considering that Tsurugi appears uniquely susceptible to possession or fusion. He possesses no cursed energy, making his body an ideal vessel. There is nothing inside him capable of resisting the takeover. And yet, This is where things get truly interesting. Much like Toji's body once rejected the sorcerer grandmother's control, Tsurugi's severely limited yet extraordinarily powerful physical form may allow him to resist possession from within. If that happens, Tsurugi's true awakening could emerge from that internal struggle itself. If there is one character most likely to strike a bargain with Mahito for Yuka's sake, it is Tsurugi. So what about Cross? It is difficult to imagine him falling under Mahito's manipulation. He is too composed, too aware. Cross understands that cursed spirits and Lemillions are fundamentally different beings, even if most people lump them together. That understanding is precisely why cursed spirits were ultimately outlawed. Cross sees the distinction clearly, making him an unlikely candidate to accept Mahito's deal. However, Cross now stands on the brink of death, not alive, but not fully gone. In such a limbo state, it is possible that Cross can perceive Mahito as well. A conversation between them could occur, though it is unlikely Cross would agree to anything. Maru is even less likely. Among all characters, Maru is the least compatible with Mahito's influence. There's an intriguing theory that Mahito might have communicated with him through the third eye, subtly guiding his actions to push Tsurugi in a specific direction. That theory has been discussed in depth before. If true, it would mean Mahito has been planting the seeds of his plan long before the story reached its current stage. Then comes one Lemillion character who, frankly, is extremely easy to dislike, and from Mahito's perspective, extremely easy to manipulate. His obsession with cursed spirits has reached a fanatical level. He does not merely consider them equal to Kalens. He worships them. If he were ever to encounter Mahito directly, a special grade cursed spirit, Mahito would appear divine to him. He would treat Mahito as a god, obey every word, and submit completely. From that point on, Mahito could shape him into anything he wanted. It is even possible that Mahito's influence over him has been active for a long time without anyone realizing it. And finally, the most important figure of all, Yuji. The bond between Yuji and Mahito should be the most intense and deeply personal of all. Never forget the promise Yuji made to him. No matter how Mahito returns, no matter how many times he rises again, Yuji will continue to hunt him down and kill him again and again. That vow was not a threat. It was a life-binding resolve. This may even explain why Yuji disappeared. Yes, the surface reason was his desire not to watch his friends grow old. But there may be something far darker beneath that explanation. Yuji is tracking Mahito, following his traces, collecting fragments of information. And this could very well be why Yuji once sought out IORI OKKOTSU, to confirm whether IORI had any connection to Mahito at all. If IORI truly made some form of agreement with Mahito, then Yuji's involvement suddenly becomes logical. It also answers one of the story's biggest oddities. Why did Yuji, an outsider, interfere in the affairs of the Gojo clan? The ones who should have acted were Yuta, Maki, or someone from within the clan itself. But instead, it was Yuji who stepped in. Under this framework, everything aligns. Mahito, IORI, Yuri, Yuji. If Mahito truly reappears in JJK Modulo, it would be the perfect moment for Yuji's return to the narrative. Yuji may sense Mahito's presence, and that alone would signal that the time has finally come. Whether Mahito resurfaces through Tsurugi, Cross, or even Yuka, any one of those scenarios could become the trigger that pulls Yuji back into the story. Admittedly, the number of remaining Modulo chapters is limited. As the ending draws closer, the chances of Mahito's direct involvement shrink. But that is not necessarily a bad thing. One of these theories may still come true. And if none of them do, then only one possibility remains. Mahito does not appear in Modulo at all. Instead, Jujutsu Kaisen continues in its next project, and that is where Mahito finally returns. Personally, it feels highly unlikely that Modulo is the franchise's final extension. The world of JJK is simply too vast to conclude here. If Mahito does not emerge now, it means only one thing. His presence is being saved for the next story. That was interesting, Nakama. Thank you so much for sticking with the story till the end. If you have any questions, feel free to write them down in the comments section below. Thanks again for watching, and see you in the next one.